Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back for more Malifaux, continuing the effigies with the Hodgepodge Effigy, Dark Elf Skin 09164. And Hodgepodge was meant to bind the Outcasts into whatever plans Zoraida the Swamp Hag originally had for these creatures, or puppets, but things kind of went off the rails when Governor Kitchener, I think is his name, tried to become a tyrant and blew up, with the effigies absorbing the power and, well, evolving like Pokemon into the emissaries. Made that joke during the last video, but imagine everybody's going to feel like watching the last video. But Hodgepodge was a especially tricky design because since it was intended to bind a group that has nothing in common but their lack of cohesion, Zoraida had to eventually settle on something that was not cohesive, just a mishmash of parts. And we're going to do that for the lowest layer, the skin, and let that dry and move on in a bit. Alright, next up, Olive Green 09035. There's been a wicked windstorm going on all day. So I'm going for kind of a color scheme that's heavy on the earth tones. I won't say militaristic so much as scavenge military. Of course, currently in Malifaux, all the Outcasts are getting more cohesive than they used to be since the current Governor General, I can't remember his name right now, has outlawed all mercenaries. Chaos, or Chaotic Red. I think Franco is the governor's name now, after Kitchener blew up. But Hodgepodge definitely has a look of a bandit, which is appropriate. Thought I was dropping frames there for a second. I'm going to guess that the flesh of these effigies is mud or clay based. That's just a guess. Once upon a time there was a spin-off game called Puppet Wars, where the voodoo dolls Zoraida made of all the characters of Malifaux would brawl when she wasn't there. Okay. Don't let that dry before moving on. Next, Shield Brown 09061. Not much of this. Just a little bit on the weapons. Handle for the knife. Probably just a big kitchen knife, and then the handle for the pistol, which in the second edition can't use, so it might just be a pop gun. Just go down a bit on that. Pick out some other colors later. I'm going to need to let that dry first before I move on, so I'll wait there a minute. mixed up. What did I do with it? Old bronze is 09197. There isn't much of this one either. I'm hearing my computer making noises it makes when it usually decides to throw a fit, so let's see if I can get through this quickly enough. A little patch there. Bit on there. Trigger. This medallion of his. Or its. Technically doesn't really have a gender. Get this barrel. I'll just get the barrels and the gun in it. I'll be fine. Just do that. And plate mail metal. The knife. And he's got a couple more knives sticking in his backpack. Or I should say it again. No gender really. Let that dry and move on when it does. Alright, crossing fingers here. My computer's making the bad noises again. Banshee brown. This is a substitute for the excuse me, khaki I was using previously. And it's really runny, so I need to mix it up more thoroughly. Again, new bottles of paint right off the shelf will generally need a little, or not a little, but a lot of extra mixing, because who knows how long it was on there before you bought it, took it home with you. Better. Something caught in my throat. I'm just going to pick out a few of these details for these random strings. Almost gives the impression that he's got a hula skirt on, but again, we're talking a puppet designed to influence a group whose only connection is how random they are from each other. Then a bit of this on the pistol. And then bindings on the arms and the legs. So a color scheme that's heavily dominated by earth tones. Okay. I'm going to need to let that dry before finishing up. I might have to do a second coat on some of this, but I'll be alright. So, dry up and move on. Okay. Last base coats. Fur brown. This is a substitute for the oiled leather in the Reaper Master Series I used to use. Again, the Reaper series has been, and this needs to be mixed up more, the Reaper series has been difficult to find locally lately. So I'm making a gradual shift to Army Painter Warpaints. Alright. That should do. Much better. Working from the bottom to the top. Getting pouches, and there's a lot on his side here. Pouches, the backpack. And of course, there are straps to it. And this is actually one of the most important details on Hodgepodge because in his emissary form, he takes the shape of a old peddler on a pack mule, overladen with assorted goods. These fairly anthropomorphic puppets may be the forms they were created with, but when they absorb the power of Governor Kitchener's failed attempt to ascend to godhood, they took forms that maybe suited them better. Then the hat as well. That might have to do a second coat on this. If I do, it will be off camera. Okay. Where'd I put it? Uniform gray. And I'm going to switch to a larger brush for this. Just go carefully around the feet, try not to nick anything. And that's base coats. A little bit more right up top there. Okay. Once that completely dries, I can start shading. Alright, time to shade. Ruddy Leather 09009. Mixing 1 part paint with 1 part water to thin it out into a wash. And I'm going over the base coats, starting with the highest area and going to the lowest. Red brick 09001. that try before I move on. Next up, Khaki Shadow 09121. Trying not to keep an excessive amount of paint in the brush for want of... Is that even the right word? No. Regardless of what the correct grammar should be, I don't want to keep excessive paint in the brush, which will make it more difficult to shade properly. And now, Blackened Steel 09205. Huh. Getting the knives. Both the ones in his hand and the ones on his back. Just try to absorb some of that excess there. That's a little better. It's going to leave the green, the bronze. Yeah, the bronze, the green, the wood. I'm getting there. Okay, next. Where'd I put it? Aged Pewter 09196. A bit on the medallion and the pistol. Or possibly pop gun. And I'm gonna have to wait a bit. Okay. Woodstain breath 09160. Carefully picking out the wood. Handle of the knife. And Muddy Olive 09034. Carefully getting the pants. I don't want to get the khaki I did earlier. And there we go. Now that's just going to leave the skin tone and the base. Then I can highlight in detail. Alright, second to last shade. 09163 Dark Elf Shadow. The green's still a little wet in places, but it's dry enough I can work with it. Excuse me. Carefully. Now, that thumping you may or may not hear is my neighbors cranking their stereo. Again, that's nothing to be concerned about. Okay. Once this dries, I'm going to prep for a lighting effect and get the base and go from there. Alright. Matte white. I'm going to prep some lighting effects first. And in keeping them coherent, I'm going to do the eyes in that same bright yellow that I did Arcane Effigy in the last video. Fill those in with the white first. Now, Stormy Gray, 09088. And making sure this gets in all the cracks. This is a custom sculpted basing I've done. Just a simple layer of sculpting putty with a pattern carved in while wet. The model glued on afterwards. Now, lemon yellow, 09009. I'm going to take a risk and try getting the eyes now, even though I just put the color and the white in there. So this is a risk, but we'll see if it pays off. With a lighting effect, you want 2 to 3 parts water to 1 part paint. Well, that might work. It's got a little too much water in it, but could provide an interesting effect when dry. So, moving on when it's dry. Okay, time to highlight. Dark Elf Highlight 09165. Using a ragged feathered brush. Something like this. No water, straight paint only. And rubbing most of the paint out on the paper towel to look like there's nothing left. And then dusting the area to be affected, going against any raised areas. Refreshing paint as needed. And I focus on the most readily visible areas only. Pale Olive 09036. You want your brush completely dry, so I'm switching freely since I have several that are suitable. Don't really make brushes like this, but any brush you have will cut like this eventually with use, so don't throw them out once they start to get beat up. Tarnished Brass 09198. No, not yet. First, Driftwood Brown 09162. Not that there's much of this, but now Tarnished Brass. Khaki Highlight 09123. Keeping an eye on my frame rate. Making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second, which keeps happening for reasons I'm not sure of. Vampire Red. Burnt Orange 09111. Which is plugged up, so paper clip down the nozzle. Now we're good. Oh boy. Frame rate's starting to get a little buggy right now, but I'm almost done. True Silver 09207. Misty Gray 09090. And that's all the highlighting. Last thing I need to do is take a flathead brush now and matte black. Uh-oh. There's one detail I almost forgot. I'm just going to take a detail brush, nice pointy one, and just put a little dot of black in the gun barrel. Now switching to the flathead. Just going over the edge of the base. Trying to avoid hitting my basing I've done. If you're using sand or flock, you'll do this before applying that material. I do custom sculpting for Malifaux and Relic Knights, but I generally use flock for Warhammer 40,000 and War Machine Horde, so those videos will have techniques at the end on doing that. And there we go. Always clean your brush thoroughly after use. That's it. Hodgepodge Effigy. Continuing these in the next video, but until then, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.